Coming up on News Watching, ways you can prevent getting the flu this season.
Several notable NFL players will skip their White House visit.
And the House of Representatives have passed a new tax bill.
All that and more on News Watching tonight. Researchers at Ohio State University may have found a remedy that helps to slow the progression of Alzheimer's. During a recent study, scientists applied deep brain stimulation to the frontal lobe of several patients' brains, and the results showed that over the course of 2 years, patients with the electrical stimulation maintained better mental abilities. The Journal of Alzheimer's Disease says that the treatment is not a cure, nor will it reverse any previous damage to the brain, but that it is believed to aid in the slowing of the progression of the disease.
A New Hampshire woman is suing to keep her name anonymous. The woman, identified as Jane Doe, says she's made a huge mistake in signing the ticket without consulting a lawyer first. The woman filed a complaint last week saying she signed the back of the ticket because she thought she was required to do so, as directed by information on the State Lotteries Commission website. Under New Hampshire law, a lottery winner's name, town, and prize amount are public information. The woman has been losing $14,000 per day in interest since the January 6th drawing. Jane Doe has showed lottery officials a photocopy of the front, but hasn't turned in her ticket yet. She has been granted a hearing in front of a judge, slated for tomorrow.
An Ithaca man has been sentenced to at least 3 years in prison for his involvement in a fatal car accident back in 2016. Jonathan T. Bird, age 29, pleaded guilty to second-degree manslaughter and will serve an indeterminate sentence of 3 to 9 years in state prison. 19-year-old passenger Luciano Cerveto was ejected from the vehicle and pronounced dead at the scene. Officials say that Bird had been traveling at about speeds of upwards of 100 miles per hour and was under the influence of drugs and alcohol at the time of the crash.
A college student is considering legal action against Spirit Airlines for allegedly leading her to drown her emotional support hamster because she couldn't bring it on her flight. Before arriving at the Baltimore airport, 21-year-old Belen Alcazar called Spirit to make sure she could bring her pet hamster Pebbles on board. The passenger claimed she was told it would be no problem, but when she arrived at the airport, Spirit denied her the ability to travel with Pebbles. The passenger claimed a Spirit employee suggested she flush Pebbles down the toilet. After attempting other options, she did the unthinkable. Spirit acknowledged that the employee did incorrectly tell the passenger that the hamster could accompany her, but denies that one of the employees told her to kill the animal.
A winter storm warning has been issued in the cities of Binghamton, Elmira, and Ithaca. These areas are expected to get between 4 and 7 inches of snow on Wednesday, with some localized spots receiving up to 10 inches. Officials are urging residents to plan on difficult traveling conditions, including during the morning commute on Wednesday, as reductions in visibility are possible. Snowfall is expected to start in the early morning hours at around 5 a.m. and continue until late Wednesday evening. And the Cleveland Indians have announced that they will remove their age-old and highly popular Chief Wahoo logo from the team's uniforms beginning in the 2019 baseball season. The logo has received harsh criticism for several years, with people asserting that the emblem is offensive to Native Americans. The Cleveland Indians will retain the trademark rights to the logo in order to prevent it from being used by anybody else. And although the logo will no longer be seen on uniforms, Major League Baseball says that fans can still purchase Chief Wahoo merchandise in stores outside of the ballpark.
This year's season is one of the worst on recent record, and this year's flu season is one of the worst on recent record, and federal officials warn it's not getting better anytime soon. There has been 53 children who have died of the flu season. This is about I'm sorry, can we run that from the top? Sorry. This year's flu season is one of the worst on recent record, and the federal officials warn it's not getting better anytime soon. There have been 53 children who have died of this flu this season, with about half having no underlying medical conditions. According to specialists, parents should be on the lookout for these symptoms: for high persistent fevers, difficulty breathing, rapid heartbeats, and significant fatigue or confusion. Viruses like the flu, can weaken the immune system, which make it easier for people to catch an infection like pneumonia. Still, there are ways for you to minimize the risk of catching the flu this season. The easiest thing to do is get a flu shot. It's not too late. Washing your hands regularly, staying home if you are sick, and covering your mouth when you cough or sneeze are other ways to minimize the risk of catching the flu. Around 4 a.m. Sunday morning, a 26-year-old Indianapolis Colts linebacker Edwin Jackson and his Uber driver were both struck and killed in a drunk driving accident. Investigators say Jackson was a passenger of an Uber being driven by 54-year-old Jeffrey Monroe. Monroe pulled over on the side of Interstate 70 due to Jackson becoming sick. Both men were standing outside the car when Manuel Orrego Zavala, an undocumented immigrant with a criminal record, smashed into both men with a pickup truck. Zavala fled the scene on foot, but was arrested shortly afterward. Zavala gave police a fake name as he was found that he was previously been deported twice, driving without a license and an alcohol level of .239, 3 times the legal limit.
Groundhog Day was this past weekend, and it was the 132nd annual celebration of the holiday. In the little borough of Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, members of the Inner Circle of the Punxsutawney Groundhog Club gather to find out exactly how much longer winter will last. This year, when the little groundhog known as Punxsutawney Phil came out from underground, he saw his shadow, which is an omen that is said to indicate that there will be 6 more weeks of winter.
Super Bowl 52 was an historic night for Philadelphia Eagles fans as they watched their team bring home their first title ever. But no fan celebrated in such a way as comedian Kevin Hart. As the Eagles took the stage for the post-game trophy presentation, Hart attempted to join the team, but the Philadelphian was met by a security guard who wouldn't let him pass. After not being allowed on stage, Hart made his way to the post-game show, where he admitted to not exactly being sober, and followed up by dropping the F-bomb on national television. Later on that night, Hart took to Instagram, acknowledging his actions. In the video, he stated, "Me trying to go on stage with the trophy is definitely the top 2 stupidest things I've ever done. But who cares? The Eagles won the Super Bowl."
Well, I'm sure Kevin Hart wasn't the only Eagles fan celebrating on Sunday night.
But I hope the other fans weren't as reckless as Kevin Hart was that night.
Either way, we're happy for the Eagles and their fans. Coming up on Newswatch, the Senate votes to pass a new bill.
And Pete Johans has been called back to play the voice of Woody Woodchuck.
And the royal wedding has been postponed until 2020.
Stay tuned, we'll be right back.